What won't this guy do for the love of peddling oil? Donald Trump. What won't he do for the love of peddling oil? In his first term, towards the end of his first term, a few months remaining, Trump threw the president of Afghanistan, the American coalition president, underneath the bus and freed Abdul and 5,000 of his close lieutenants and gave them rule of Afghanistan. Because Trump was desperately trying to figure out, he had a few months remaining in office, he was trying to figure out how to have Russian Exxon Arctic Energies run through the Tajikistan pipeline that had to run through Afghanistan in order to reach India and China. So Exxon was desperate not only to flood India and China with Russian Arctic Energies, but Western Europe. So this is what Trump was willing to do. He laid down with the Taliban because he was desperate. The few months that he had remaining in his first term, he was desperate to figure out a solution in order for Exxon to flood Russian Arctic energy through the Tajikistan pipeline that would have ran through Afghanistan, and the pipeline would have fed energy into India. So Trump, good idea was to undermine the coalition government, the American joint coalition government, and to free Abdul, the leader of the Taliban, and 5,000 of his close lieutenants, and to give them the red carpet treatment with Pompeo to give them rule over Afghanistan. So Trump basically shit and pissed and threw up and stuck his middle finger up to the eternal fountains of 9/11 for the love of peddling oil. Can you imagine? And because of it, al-Zawahiri was pulled right back into Afghanistan, right along with the Taliban. Meaning Al-Qaeda got right back with the Taliban soon as Trump gave them rule of Afghanistan. Al-Zawahiri was the guy that attacked 9/11 buildings and the Pentagon. He was the brains behind the 9/11 attack. Because of Trump's fiasco for the love of oil and desecrating the legacy of 9/11, he was willing, like a snake oil con artist, to come up with a wise idea to lay down with the Taliban for the love of this pipeline. Basically shitting and pissing and desecrating the legacy of 9/11. Just for he can peddle oil, for he can bridge these deals. And Trump is just bridging these deals to enrich his real estate. That's how they launder money into his real estate, these fossil fuel deals that he's peddling. Exxon, Middle Eastern countries, Trump is enriching his real estate off of it. And when the Qatar government gave Trump a $400 million jet, and then he traveled to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia invited the new leader of Syria, which 2 weeks later, before he took control of Syria, he was part of Al-Qaeda. The new president of Syria. He was part of Al-Qaeda 2 weeks before he took over the Syrian government. And so the Crown Prince invited Trump in this tour to the Gulf of Arabia. It's no longer the Gulf of Persia. It doesn't belong to Iran. It belongs to Saudi Arabia, the Gulf of Arabia. Just for Trump to ingratiate himself with more money being laundered from Saudi Arabia into Trump Jr. and Trump Eric, while they have blind trust in their father, and they're getting rich by plastering their names on throughout the Middle East, as far as vacation, holiday buildings, tourism. Trump is getting rich off of peddling oil throughout the Middle East, Dubai, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, you name it. He's just getting rich off of the presidency. Anyway, the Crown Prince invited him to raise sanctions off of Syria, and this new leader, this new freshly minted Al-Qaeda, former Al-Qaeda leader, that 2 weeks before he was part of Al-Qaeda, he's going to give Trump a tower in Damascus, the capital of Syria, if Trump raises sanctions off of Syria, which he did. He raised the sanctions off of Syria. Most likely probably for Syrian oil, Syrian gas. But you see, this scoundrel will lay down with anybody for the love of oil, because that's how he gets rich. Quid pro quos, By peddling the petrodollar oil deals, they're making him rich in real estate. So if anything, Trump is a scoundrel. He shitted and pissed on the eternal fountains, the victims of 9/11. He's willing to lay down with anybody and their mothers when it comes to peddling venomous snake oil deals. He's worse than Rockefeller's father, which is to say that Rockefeller's father was a con artist. He was known for scoundrel, cunning people, and that's what Trump is, a peddler. Snake oil remedies as chief of commander when it comes to petrol oil deals with the petrodollar. He'll lay down with anybody if they tell him to, for the love of his real estate. See, it's not considering the national security interests of America. It's just considering his real estate and how many deals he can bridge for the Exxon, Global Affairs, or Chevron. Now he's about to invade Venezuela for Chevron. So, anyway, Trump, he wants to make Russia part of the G7 again. Because Exxon, they got gas, liquid gas. They don't know how to run pipelines into Western Europe. And the liquid gas ships are too cumbersome, too slow. So Trump was trying to take Canada, conquer Canada territory, conquer Greenland, thinking that they're going to run pipelines to the Arctic into Western Europe. That's the con artist that Trump is. He broke up Britain's economy, Brexit, and he tried to backstab King Charles and Queen Elizabeth to conquer Canada from Britain as a commonwealth to make it part of the United States. The same he was trying to do to the Dutch when it came to Greenland. Trump is all about the oil deals. He called the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, only for Exxon to think that they have oil rights in the Gulf, which is the Gulf of Mexico, but they want to say, oh no, this is the Gulf of America, we have more oil rights. But Trump always said, Biden made a fiasco of Afghanistan, the withdrawal. No, Biden killed al-Zawahiri, and that was your mess that you caused, Trump. For the love of your snake oil remedies, you propped up Al-Qaeda. You propped up the Taliban for the love of that Tajikistan pipeline. But you don't mention that to your peoples, right? Because you got your people dumb and docile. As far as your base, your rallies, Fox News, as insider trading, Murdoch lay down in bed with you just to corner the Wall Street speculative stocks through his news outlets. And y'all do corporate privatism and degenerate activism with you and Lucknick. Lucknick, he lost 600 employees in 9/11 and his brother inside the 9/11 building. But this scoundrel Lucknick doesn't give a fuck. He'll lay down with Trump and suck his, you know what. Just as long as he can get rich with this wealth fund, the cryptos, and now I heard they bought 10% of Intel with corporate privatism. Piratism. They call it corporate privatism. Trying to take over Intel with this wealth fund of crypto Ponzi schemes that they created. But Lucknick, how do you feel about Trump freeing the Taliban leaders, and al-Zawahiri was right back in the bosoms of the Taliban thanks to Trump? How do you feel about that, Lucknick? The 600 employees that died in the 9/11, and your employees that died in the 9/11 building, Lucknick, you don't give a fuck about them. You never did. You probably don't give a fuck about your brother. You just capitalized on it.